points. Okay, so -5, 6, 3, -7. Now it helps if you go ahead and draw your X and Y axes and scale it. Okay, I'm not going to take the time to do that because I don't really need it to draw the triangle. There are two possible triangles. I could have drawn it above the hypotenuse, but I'm going to move in this direction. Now, you want to be sure you put arrows on it so you keep yourself moving in one direction. I'm going from -5 to 3, so my run is 3 minus -5, which is 8. Naturally, you can draw this on a set of coordinate axes and count how far you go, because I'm using integers here. But you should also be able to do it by addition or subtraction. Okay. And here, you're going from here to here in the vertical direction. It's going to be -7 minus 6 equals -13. So the slope is the rise over run, which is -13 over 8. Okay? And that's how it's labeled. I told you that the first time we did it, so make sure you got it locked in now. And the length of the hypotenuse is square root of 8 squared plus -13 squared. I believe that adds up to the square root of 225. No, 8 and 13 wouldn't do it, would it? 169 and 64. Yeah, it's 233. Oh, wait, there's a... Anyhow, maybe that's right, maybe it isn't. But that's what I'm going to go with because I don't want to stop and worry about the arithmetic, okay? You get the arithmetic right. In the midpoint of the hypotenuse is at -5 plus 3 over 2, 6 plus -7 over 2, which equals -1, -1/2. So you can label the hypotenuse. You can put a square root of 233 here, or whatever it really turns out to be. And I should have labeled this a little bit higher, but the midpoint would be at -1, -1/2. That would be a completely labeled fundamental triangle. I could have drawn it more neatly. Okay, well, next one is -5, 6, and xy. xy could be anywhere. So the rise is y minus 6 and x plus 5. Now you want to put down, because there's no time limit in this, you want to put down run equals, rise equals, to keep yourself straight so you don't make an error. Okay, but the slope is then y minus 6 over x plus 5, putting it in a box over the hypotenuse or under it. Indicates that's a slope. Doesn't hurt to say slope equals, right? And then you also have the hypotenuse in the midpoint. And I'm not going to take the time to label it, but the hypotenuse is x plus 5 squared plus y minus 6 squared. And you can write down what the midpoint is, -5 plus this divided by 2 and so forth, okay? I'll digress. This point is the same as this point, right? So if the slope from here to xy is the same as the slope from here to here, then xy is on the straight line, right? So I'm just going to comment. This isn't part of the first question, but it comes up later. That's true if and only if the slopes are equal. So the equation of the line is y minus 6 over x plus 5 equals negative 13 over 8. Put it in slope-intercept form if you like by solving for y. Now we did that, and people did okay with it because you're imitating what you saw me do, but you got to now lock in. First, remember what you did. Go back, you got the homework. You're going to go back and see what you did. It'll come back to you. But then relate that again to the idea that that's the slope of the, or that's the equation of the line. Okay. Now, if you have a fundamental triangle for the points A, B, and C, D, then the run is C minus A. Again, you want to write out the words rise and run, but that's what it comes down to. And you put yourself a couple of arrows on it, usually going left to right, but you can go either direction as long as you go in the same direction both times. So the slope is D minus B over C minus A. Write that down. The hypotenuse is the square root of D minus B squared plus C minus A squared. Midpoint is A plus C over 2, D plus B over 2. And then we could have the common notation x1, y1, x2, y2. The rise is y2 minus y1, the run is x2 minus x1, so the slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, etc. Write out the hypotenuse, write out the midpoint. Okay? Now you're pretty familiar, at least with the slope for sure. We haven't talked that much about the hypotenuse and midpoint, but you should know how to do them. If it turns out you don't, I'm not going to penalize it heavily, but it'll cost you a point or two. Okay? As long as you get the rest of it, you're going to get substantial credit. Okay? It's kind of B-level work if you can do this, and A-level work on that problem if you have the hypotenuse and midpoint. Okay? Okay. Moving on to the second problem. And let me stop this video.